Welcome to the Last Fireflies podcast, in solidarity with all humans and non-humans dealing with climate chaos.
Welcome back to another Campfire Talk episode. I'm Robbie. I'm together with Dani today.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good to hear you again.
And today we are joined by Dani from the Artivist Network to talk a little bit about artivism and what that is and how we can use that in our climate actions. Thank you for giving us your time, Dani, and to come and record together. Do you want to say a few words about yourself to start things off and about the Artivist Network of which you're a part of?
Yeah, for sure. It's really nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm Dani. I'm with the Artivist Network, and my role is kind of like everybody does everything in our organization, but I'm kind of like in charge of production for actions and also one of the coordinators. So it's like kind of my background really comes from originally like a mural painter, street artist, which like really got me involved in arts activism, and also kind of like a multimedia artist by now, because I've learned so much from other artists that now I kind of feel that my artistic spectrum has really broadened. So I'm kind of like excited to work on anything and like learn during the process. I'm like working a lot on creating installations, still painting murals, and kind of looking for creative strategy together with like grassroots groups, larger mobilizations, NGOs, and kind of like every kind of different group, like also kind of really focusing on how to kind of create the bridge between artists and activists. But I'm really focusing at the moment on how to kind of, I wouldn't say train, because I feel that maybe I don't have the exact knowledge for that, but I'm really trying to involve artists in understanding like how art's role in a movement can be crucial and how much it can support it. So it's really about empowering artists, and this is something with especially like being based in Budapest in Hungary. I think it's something where like people need to be guided into understanding empowerment or like kind of realizing empowerment. So I'm really kind of excited to work on these kind of things, to work together with artists and then kind of introduce them to different movements and involve them in different actions. So yeah, the Artivist Network is like, we're a collective, we're a growing team. We're working on quite a lot of different projects, but we're like a core team of 4 people. Out of this, like some of us are based in Central Eastern Europe, in Southern Europe, and then in Southeast Asia. Specifically, one of our core team members is in Malaysia. So yeah, I'm quite happy to say that we're global because we're working on a lot of different campaigns and a lot of different actions with a lot of different plans, both in Europe and in Southeast Asia. Our group is now, I would say the people who are actually like involved with us on like a regular basis is 12 people. And we're kind of split into teams, working groups. And yeah, we do like basically like creative strategy for lots of different kind of concepts. We're really kind of a project or like a collective which doesn't have their own messaging. We have our own values, of course, and we all have like different struggles or fights or causes which are important to us. But we're usually invited by movements to work on specific projects. So it's a really broad spectrum. And that's why it's like really interesting also to kind of be part of this, because we get to know things from people on the ground all over the world and then like train them, support them, give them tools to be able to create powerful actions and hopefully just have like a bigger outreach on media. And yeah, like basically just make everything creatively more exciting and visually interesting.
Can I ask if all these 4 people, like the nucleus of the Artivist Network, are they coming from artistic point of view, or more they were like activists and you met with them because you have a bit of a background more into arts, if I understood well. So I was wondering if you all are kind of like artists that comes towards climate issues or like activist issues, or it's just like a mix?
No, I mean, I'm definitely the least educated out of the group. Yeah, I'm like the person who didn't study it that much. But basically, the 4 people in our group, it's like everybody has an artistic background. So it's like somebody who does theater is also, their like profession is communication, social media. And then other people are like really great at painting, great at performances. Like we're artists, but we're facilitators as well. So I think that everybody comes from a different kind of movement, but in the end, we're all part of one movement.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Just to say to our listeners, every time I meet Dani somewhere, it's a big event, usually an activist event, either like a COP, either is a mobilization against a specific gas project or a gathering between activists. And he's always like surrounded by these like stencils and paints and like lots of craft materials. And I don't know, I always saw you are the whole group of Artivist Network building from scratch, like a big place for arts. And maybe what it's nice to be underlined for our listeners is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're using spaces that are activist based and you're instrumentalizing the art in favor of the cause you are fighting against, or like the movement fights against, and not the other way around. Like you don't take, for example, a protest and you make an exposition about the protest, kind of like instrumentalizing the activism into art. You know what I mean? Are you having these kind of conversations in Artivist Network, or how do you position yourself into this?
It's a huge question always of like, we're never artistic enough, but we're like never activists enough. Maybe I can like go back to how we started. But basically, at the beginning, the Artivist Network was really kind of like artists setting up space for people to come and create, which like we would facilitate, and we would be there as artists to like provide tools and also like teach people how to create art. Like me coming from a street art background, teaching people how to make stencils, how to lay out your banner, how to, you know, like what to look at, like what sort of colors to use, and so on. And this meant that we were not making the art for the movement. We were making art together with the movement. We would go to like large mobilizations, climate camps, different places, and we would apply for grants and self-manage and check in that, hey, like we would like to come set up this space. And then like at some point, people started to invite us to do these. And then I think that now it's like really much more like one part of the team is like really going to like meetings, kind of representing creative strategy, making sure that groups talk about this at the beginning and not at the end. There's also like kind of geographical things to take into consideration. Like Spain has a really evolved arts activist movement, but in Southeast Asia, arts is not really taken as like a priority when talking about protests. Representing this and kind of putting it in the front, that visual and creative strategy is important. So we're like doing both.
Then if we already talked about this a bit, but just to like hone it in and describe in more detail exactly what, in your understanding, what would you consider artivism, and why it's important, as you said, to think creatively about how to transmit your message, also in a visually creative way.
I kind of feel that it's not needed to explain why visual appearance is important. The reason I say it is because it was really important to talk about it in the past, because people didn't look at it as a priority. They would like do all this work on organizing an action, do all the logistics, do all the things, and then like be at an action with like zero visuals, or like, you know, something which you can see that somebody had like 5 minutes to do and it looks bad. This is what the world will pick up, because it's like, you know, a 300 people action and nobody else sees it except for cameras. This is how important art and activism is, because otherwise you don't have a strong message to send it out. Artivism can be, you know, like someone writing something politically poetic on a wall with like zero talent, but still like changing a space and making people think. Even one sticker in a good place can sometimes make a message more seen than like a big action. Art has always been used to send messages, to raise awareness, and it's always been a really important tool to kind of like amplify messages. So many new things are appearing, and I think that like, you know, from small disruptive creative performances in public space towards creative campaigns pressuring institutions to cut ties with fossil fuel companies. Basically, I think that everything which can be in a public space is arts activism. Also like social media and design, or like, you know, anything which is online is also arts activism, but we tend to look at arts activism more in like, how is art used in a public space and can be used as a disruptive tool.
Mm-hmm. You say that you're also teaching people or the movement, if they are like, okay, let's organize a protest. And then maybe you also think about how our messages for that protest should look like, and maybe check some examples from the Artivist Network. So it's not only a simple slogan, it can come to be absorbed by many senses. So it's not only auditive, the slogan that you shout, it can be also visual, it can be also maybe if you add some smells to it, or if you can add some colors to it to trigger some kind of emotions, it really creates that narrative to be more strong and have more impact. This is what I'm hearing from you when you say that you help to put into the strategy the art. I'm imagining these kind of approaches to what you want to transmit and how you transmit it. Is it something that I understood correctly?
Definitely. We're really like looking at art as an open source tool. Our like important part of messaging is that you don't need to be an artist to create good visuals. As I mentioned at the beginning, we were there to kind of like guide activists into making things which look cool. By now, we have a bunch of toolkits. We just have a lot of material on how to create things. And then like some of these are really affordable, accessible. And now we're also kind of looking into something which costs more, but is something which can actually be more beneficial for some people who are into like more techie activism with more expensive equipment and stuff like that. We're like really looking at it as like something which people should be able to access without having an artist on board.
We will also share your website in the description of this episode, because indeed you have a few toolkits and workshops that people can check on your website.
Yeah, of course, you share all the materials and resources and everything. I was just thinking that for me, I think the best kind of how to represent something is not just a visual way to represent an information, but it's actually something that connects two dots. It works kind of like a metaphor. I'm now thinking about, for example, in one of our recent episodes, we talk about how a report came out that says that we have recently crossed the first climate tipping point, which is for the warm water coral reefs. And basically, they are on a path to dying, all of these coral reefs. And it's one thing to say all this information, but if you have an action where you like have a funeral procession and maybe have like a coffin, or you have like a grief ritual, then that's a very, very strong way of also transmitting the information, but also connecting the dots that this is not just some kind of info, but this has like a social importance, and it's like a relative that is dying, right? Because the corals are also part of this earth system together with us. And I think this kind of creative actions for me are the best when they also make some kind of connection.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing that like, so the report came out on the coral reefs going extinct or like, disappearing. This is probably 100-pager of like, why it's happening, what caused this, who caused this, what other reports to check, and like the people of the world, society does not read 100-page or like 50-page or even 10-page reports.
These are more like 1,000-page usually, so it's...
Yeah, okay, I'm even like downsizing it. So like what I see as the really useful and important aim of arts activism is to take the information from that, create it into something digestible, and put it out in the public for people to at least notice that this is happening and for it to trigger understanding. And this is when like people can like see a mural, see a bus ad change, see something and look into why this is happening. This is the whole thing that like we work together with movements to amplify all of the really important work they do. And I think that that's really the like job of arts in the climate and human rights movement.
So do you want to give us some examples of creative actions that you've been a part of in the last years? In the how-to sections, we will talk about some basic things like this ad replacement stuff that people who are just starting out, they can do. But maybe if you want to give us some examples from these kind of big actions and stuff to show the potential of this kind of artivist approach.
Yes. I mean, obviously now that you say it, it's like I'm blanking on it.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's like so many different things. Just now we were at the COP in Brazil and we did like so many actions. We were a gigantic factory for like 2.5 weeks. Well, I mean, more than that, but yeah, like just constantly making and just like pushing out actions, several actions every day. We did a lot of actions. For example, like fossil fuel lobbyists present at COP. We work together with corporate accountability and the Kick Big Polluters Out campaign, which is like 450 organizations who are basically trying to get fossil fuel lobbyists kicked out from COP. And then for that, for example, we made this huge corporate puppet with like a burning globe as a head.
Nice.
Which was also like really fun to create, but also the whole like genuinity of, a puppet walking through COP and then like being part of this action more theatrically the people trying to like kick out this big puppet. And then like this is kind of like evolving puppetry, theater, and like a lot of really, really good speakers who are part of this campaign. Then like there was another one which was similar against fossil fuel lobbyists, which was like you wouldn't invite a cigarette company to a clean shit. Sorry, I actually forgot what it was.
Maybe some cancer conference or something.
Something like this. Oh my God, it's so ridiculous that I forget our own actions, but it was like 30. The whole point was like we made this like huge inflatable cigarette. That was the main visual of the action. So the people were like carrying around the big inflatable cigarette. And then we also did like an action against Dani, for which we created this like huge piece of coal, which we were holding. And we also have these really beautiful fire dresses, which were made by basically at COP. We have this like Artivists in Residence project where like we were just now 16 people all together, people coming from all parts of the world, different kinds of artists. And some of them created these fire and smoke dresses, which have like a really, really dramatic presence. And then these people would like walk through COP. It's just kind of like really symbolic and really emotional.
Were these part of like a big, procession, a protest? Or were these like individual actions in different places?
So basically what we do at COP is we have like our own production space. We have an artist in residence program. And then we still have consultations with the organizations who, one, reach out to us, two, who we've had like a long working relationship with. And we brainstorm their action ideas and workshop them so that we can distribute these between artists to work on during COP. So this kind of means we have like 30 organizations. Each of them are doing an action, mostly inside or in front of the COP venue. And then like we help with like the admins. So we help register their action inside the COP. The COP has like a complicated process to have actions. And then we basically support them with everything from logistics to production, communication, documentation, and so on. And there was also the big march. We also work together with other bigger groups. It's like really wide variety from like 5 people actions to hundreds of people to thousands of people. Kind of wondering, did I give good enough examples of the actions we've done in the past? Can I mention 2 more?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we worked together with Greenpeace Bulgaria. This was really exciting. We created this inflatable life ring for them, which was 12 meters wide. It was massive. It was used at the Black Sea, part of one of their campaigns. It was really exciting. We were basically sewing for 6 days, like 16 hours every day. We like used 5 kilometers of thread to be able to make it. And like the installation was like, to carry it, it was something like 110 kilograms. So it was like a really big inflatable installation. It was really, really interesting to work on it. And the pictures look amazing. You can find it on their website. And then during the like pre-COP in Bonn in June, we worked together with the Palestinian groups who are attending the UN Spaces. And together we found a lot of images which are like really emotional from what's happening in Palestine. And we took details from these pictures, which means like you're not showing, for example, the image of a lot of people kind of like holding their pots, basically people dying from hunger. But we only took like the detail of like the hands holding the pots, and like we enlarged these images and we made this big photo stunt in front of the UN. We also just used like the eyes from images, which like the eyes can often explain the situation people are in the same way, just as like a whole image would. We really think that using this tool of like photography and enlarging them for public spaces is really powerful. It just works really well.
We'll try to put some links to images from all the actions. I think it's best if listeners, you also look at the description of the episode and look at the images while you are listening to it. I guess that's the way to have a bigger impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult also trying to explain these things. It's like...
The whole point of it is that it's visual. So.
Yeah, it's just like trying to explain everything which is visual in words, and then it's like, it doesn't sound that cool when you tell it, but then you like see the picture, you're like, okay, what the hell?
Dani, which is your favorite tool to work with? Maybe if we give some more examples of tools. I mean, like, I don't know, cutters.
I don't know. For me, my favorite tool kind of depends. Like each action needs a different kind of tactic. At COP, I made like a giant puppet, an inflatable cigarette, a big piece of coal, painted like 60 banners, 500 flags, painted 2 murals, and like all of them are like my favorite mediums.
So practically for listeners, just you have to imagine a lot of cutters and brushes and materials like textiles and colors and having a lot of fun, and then go with all that in the public somewhere in front of a building of maybe COP building or a fossil fuel company, and you just present your work. Practically, I feel like if we can envision that art space that you usually create when you go to these kind of events, maybe it just helps a bit the listeners to imagine.
Yeah, I mean, and we're like super evolved technologically. We have like 2 stencil cutting machines and stuff, like leaf blowers. We have so many cool things. We have like sewing machines. We're much less of like the first basis of like brushes, scissors, and cutters. Like now we're like, it feels like you really walk into a factory. So yeah, it's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a really proper production space. I would say that what I really enjoyed doing, especially at COP, I didn't paint murals for quite a long time because it was always like not the strategical thing to do. But I had the chance to paint together with the Fearless Collective and with Shak Koyok, who's our like Malaysian indigenous artists in residence. And it was just really empowering. Painting large scale is so great, so freeing. So yeah, I think that personally, I still feel that like within public art, street art and murals is something which I feel really sure that I can like visualize what I want to.
Maybe with this, we should maybe try to close this section off. These actions sound great, but maybe for someone who is just starting out, you have like 3 people and you've just figured out that you want to like dedicate your life to fighting against climate change. But it's maybe intimidating to think about these very like advanced actions, large scale, and that takes resources. And then maybe to ask you like this, what kind of first steps, what kinds of actions would you suggest for people who are just starting out? Because as you said, you're also thinking about how to make actions low cost. And you also have a lot of tools and whatever infrastructure, which people can contact you and you can help them out.
Yeah, definitely. I also really suggest to everyone that you can listen to this podcast, but then after that, go and have a look at like the toolkits which we have. We worked a lot on creating like these like 50-page toolkits, which when you sit down and like think of like an action you want to do, you can really have a look and see which action fits, which type of action you could do, or what is like something which you've been thinking about and want to see what the logistics for it is. So yeah, it can be really useful. We did say that we would do 2 tactics, but maybe I will start with like maybe the easiest one possible, just because it's winter. I mean, depending on where you're listening from, but it's winter in a lot of places and it gets dark really early. Maybe you're like, you just decided that you're casually dedicating your life to solving the climate crisis.
Casually, yeah.
But you still have a day job. And for a lot of people, you go to work when it's dark and you leave work when it's dark. So it's really important to bring some light into the world. And for this, I think that's something which is really easily accessible, really low cost, and you can kind of recycle it as much as you want, is creating light banners. And for this, you basically just need to buy fairy lights, these like LED, like, these Christmas style fairy lights, which you use like the AA batteries for, which you can buy the chargeable ones as well. So it's kind of like a one-time purchase, really cheap to buy. And then you need to get cardboard. The way we were doing it is like, if you have 3 people and you have a slogan of 3 words, then you need to get a piece of cardboard which is wide enough to fit 1 word. And then it looks cool if the background is painted black, because you use white or warm white light. You paint the cardboard black and then you sketch on your letters on the banner and you just use tape, like tape on the lights. And it looks really beautiful. It's really easy. And it's kind of like when you finish work at 4 p.m. and you need to go home, by the time you make it to your action location, it's going to be dark. This is like a really powerful, really beautiful way to catch attention, to have like a nice action. It will look beautiful on pictures as well. That's really easy. And also if you have a look at like our Toxic Bonds tactics manual, and you can find it in one of the sections. It's really easy. So I would really suggest, especially in winter, this is like something fun. You really don't need to put a lot of time or energy into it. You don't really need to paint anything, not artistically paint at least. So yeah, I think that this is a great early season tactic to use for making cool light banners.
Thanks for this great idea. This sounds really great with the light banners. I haven't done that, and I think that may be a great action to do this winter with my group. Before we move on to describe two very specific actions in the how-to section, do you want, Dani, to tell people like how they can contact you and where they can find all of the resources and tools that you have with the Artivist Network?
Sure. So we have a website, which is artivistnetwork.org. We need to update it a bit more, but there's a lot of really useful materials there. And then from there, you can just go to YouTube and write the Artivist Network. You will find a bunch of like tutorial videos and webinars by inspiring arts activists. And also we have an Instagram account, which is also the Artivist Network, where we upload a lot of like examples of the actions which we do. And you'll know if we're like doing anything close to you. And yeah, also time for advertisement. And listen to radishradio.org because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there as well, which is one of our side projects together with Artivists.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dani. It was really nice to talk with you, and looking forward to see you in an art space somewhere.
Definitely. Can't wait.
This podcast is autonomously organized. You can support us on Patreon if you have like $1 extra in your pocket today.
We are continuing with another how-to section with Dani from the Artivist Network. And the plan is to go into a little bit of detail about one or two of the specific actions that Dani and the other people at the Artivist Network propose for people to do. They are like easy stuff that everyone can do if they're starting out, and they don't need a lot of know-how and resources and stuff like that. The first one is something sometimes called brandalism. Do you want to describe what that means, Dani?
Yeah, brandalism is kind of, it's a play on words of like brand and vandalism. So it's really about taking someone's brand and kind of, using their advertisement strategy against them. Because often they're like just giving you your best activism campaign. They're like just handing it to you on a plate for you to make a joke from their really expensive ad campaigns. So it's really fun to do. So yeah, subvertising and brandalism is basically like a form of creative intervention, which is really cool, really kind of accessible and cheap to do. There's like different forms visually how you can do it, but basically simplifying what this is that you're changing the advertisements in bus stops and in metro or subway systems, or basically in public spaces. There's like so many ways to do this. There are some people who literally like just paint over the slogan and then spray paint on their own message. This is like coming from core, you're angry on a Saturday night, and do that. Towards like the one which we've been kind of workshopping and working together with really inspiring allies with, where it's like either like one, you can like take bus ads out of the box itself, brandalize advertisements from the company, and then put it back. And then on the other option is that you design your own art, or you design your own ad campaign, your ad hack campaign, and then you use a program which is really useful. It's called the Rasterbaiter. And this program breaks your image down into A4 or A3 pages. Basically, this means that you're able to really affordably create a large print.
You can basically create as large an image as you want from like A4 papers, and you just print them low quality and tape them together. And it actually works surprisingly well, even if it's low quality or low resolution,
Yeah, and also the like program lets you even like rasterize your image, which means that it breaks it down into like in a more pixelated or rastered like dots format, which means that it's like if it's really, really bad quality, then people will still be able to see it from far away. So the program is called rasterbaiter.net. We could like share this in the comments section of the video. This can even be like a picture you take with your phone. Nowadays, phones take good enough quality images. You can take a picture with your phone, edit it as you want on your computer, or you can download one. Then you need to have a look at what size your poster needs to be. if you have access to a graphic designer, or you're able to like download some like simple Photoshop thing, it's good to resize your image a bit if you can, to like make it as strong contrast or as high quality as possible, even on your phone, kind of editing it a bit if it's really bad. And then you put it into this program and you're able to say how many sheets wide, how many sheets tall, is it portrait or landscape format? And then you will receive a PDF from this program. And you just basically take that to the printing place. They print it for you. If you want to go really cheap, you go black and white. Those also look really cool. And then otherwise you can like use color. And the program leaves margins on the paper, which means that there's this like white border around each sheet. And you need to cut off two sides of the paper, which like, for example, is like the top and right side. So you cut off the top and right side of every paper, which means that then you're able to overlap your image to glue it together. And for this, you need glue sticks and sellotape, the transparent tape, and then you can reinforce it at the back. It's really easy to set up. You can still like find this in our manual. Also, if you look for Brandalism's website, they have a really good attack manual also, which explains a lot about how to do these.
Let me just add, so if you think about a bus stop, there's usually a transparent thing where you can put these advertising posters. Usually that's what we are talking about.
Yeah, it's the bus stop ads. Yeah, and to be able to access these, you need to be able to open it with a key. You need to go have a look at which company is present in your city. And then you can like also have a look of this project called Public Ad Campaign. And they have made a world map. You click on your city and it will show you which company is working there. And it will give you a link to Amazon with the key to be able to open it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that they've done like most of the big cities in the world. So they've done a really, really good job. Basically, you order your keys from Amazon. And then what you need is 4 people, 2 people who are changing the ad, and 2 people who are on lookout. If you've ever seen people doing these, then they're usually wearing a visibility vest. Using a visibility vest is kind of a cheat code because it means that people think that you're working for the company, and it kind of like, it just works. So you get these visibility vests. 2 people are there, like one person uses the key and then you open it. One person is holding the glass door and the other person is changing the ad. It usually has clips, which like you need to like remove the previous poster. So you remove the poster, but you can already feel that you can clip it. So like this clip opens and then you push your paper up and you clip it back and then your ad is there. If you feel that you don't have the knowledge or experience the first time when you're doing this, it's good to have duct tape or gaffer tape with you, the silver tape. And if you're fiddling too much and you get a bit anxious, a bit panicked, then you can just tape it there. And then you close it down, you lock it, which is quite important and which has been a problem for people in the past, is that when you take out the poster, roll up the poster, but don't walk around with it.
Yeah, the old one.
I mean the bus stop ad which you removed. Once you've done your action, throw it out. Because it's like, if they realize that you did it and there's like a police trying to find you, that's a really easy way to figure out that you did this. So like, get rid of the
evidence.
Get rid of the evidence, exactly. Pay attention to having a photographer. It's really important. Since it's such a low cost action, try to like find a friend or, like really underpay a good photographer because it's an important cause. Because sometimes like the next day they already change it. If they're not paying attention, then it can last for a longer time. But basically, like you need to be able to push this online as well. So you need good documentation. And also like the people who are in your group of 4 should not be using their phones and videoing while you're doing this. Because it's also weird that there's like, why are the bus stop ad people making videos and stuff like this? Like just have like someone who's in charge of documentation. I think that this is it. Yeah, and have a press release ready. It's always important.
Yeah, and maybe even before you order the key, I would suggest maybe just going around checking them, because if you're lucky, they might actually not be closed. They might be locked. Yeah. The first action that we did with my group here was this kind of ad replacement thing, and it was just not locked. And we didn't have to order a key. We just opened them and replaced them. So you should just go check them in your city. Sometimes they're just not locked, if you're lucky.
I would say that If you're to the west, it will be locked. If you're to the east, it won't be locked. I think that this is
That's the real cultural divide. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, also I think that sometimes it's just broken anyway. Like they don't give a shit, so they just leave it.
Yeah. And then if you order the key, then just check the key before and see how it works. And yeah.
Yeah, like just test it, go there. Like nobody's gonna care that you're doing this, to be honest.
Exactly. It's a very low risk action. Like worst case, you're going to get a fine. And for the fine, you can just try to contact, even us or some comrades and try to help you pay it if you cannot pay it or something.
Yeah.
So it's really a low risk action.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're stopped there, like just as a tip, if they stop you and they're making a big deal about it, you're not doing a criminal act. You're changing a poster in a bus stop. Don't start running. Don't, just be there and be like, okay, sorry, didn't know that it's such a big deal. You take out your poster and you go. You can just go out and do it the next day. It's not a big deal. Like I would say that running doesn't make sense with this kind of action. Just act cool and act like you're stupid and say that you're an artist.
Act like you're stupid, the best advice.
Well, no, because that's the thing, that if they think that that how important it is you're doing, then they look at you as a threat. But
yeah,
if you're like, oh yeah, we're just artists, we thought that it would be funny to change the bus stop ads, they're just going to tell you to get out of there, Especially when you look at the action which you were doing, for example, look at the pictures, they were super funny.
Yeah, instead of like this brandalism, we made memes, and instead of an ad, we had like a collage of memes and stuff.
Exactly. I mean,
yeah, one mocking
the companies, like, just be like, oh yeah, we had this idea that it would be really funny to do this.
Yeah.
And then act stupid, say you're an artist, take out your ad, leave.
Great. I wanted us to do this section like this to explain this stuff in detail, just so that like if you are listening and you are starting out, to just get a feeling that you can actually do this. You can find the materials cheaply. You are not taking a lot of risk, and this is really something that you can do. And then build from that to something more complex. But this is really something that you can do, even with 3-4 people, even if you don't have a lot of experience. And if you have questions, first go to the resources, the materials that Artivists have. And if you still need advice or something, contact Artivists or contact us, and we'll try to put you in contact with Dani or someone. And like really trust yourself that you can do this and that we can help you to do this if you need help.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, once you do one, you want to do more. So go for it.
If you would like to support our work, you can do that by interacting with and sharing episodes on social media and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And if you would also like to help us financially, you can do that by subscribing to our Patreon or with a one-time donation to Ko-fi. As you know, in recent years there has been quite serious legal crackdown on climate activism in Europe in general, and also a growth of the far right in many countries, which are very fossil fuel oriented. It's becoming harder and harder to do climate activism, especially in places where the movement is very small and hasn't reached the critical mass, like Romania. This has been very difficult for the growth of the movement. With that in mind, we imagine this project also as a redistributive project. As we said, the members of this collective are involved in the climate movement in Romania in one way or the other. So the earnings from this project will go first of all to provide a part-time income for some of the members of the pod, which will allow us to do more work and take more rest in organizing. And after a certain threshold, we both like to redistribute this money to climate groups and individuals doing important work on climate change in Romania and the Balkans and Eastern Europe. And even supporting us with a $2 subscription in this effort would mean a lot to us. Thank you very much for listening, and hope to hear you later and see you on Patreon.